One chance. If I fail, everything burns.
I should have known something was wrong when my wife Miranda started wearing makeup to bed. Not the obvious kind. She was too smart for that. Just a touch of concealer under her eyes. A hint of lip gloss that made her mouth look perpetually kissed. The kind of details a man notices after 15 years of marriage, especially when that man used to analyze enemy communications for the Army. My name is Paul Benton, and I'm about to tell you how I lost everything I thought mattered, then discovered what actually did. It was a Tuesday morning in October when the first domino fell. I was making pancakes for my daughters, Emily, 14 and sharp as a blade, and Sophie, 11 and still young enough to believe her parents were heroes. Miranda sat at our granite kitchen island, stabbing at her phone with manicured nails. "The investor meeting got moved to this afternoon," she said without looking up. "Grant thinks we should present the quarterly projections before the board review." Grant Wallace, Miranda's chief operating officer, Harvard MBA, trust fund baby who wore his privilege like cologne, too much and impossible to ignore. I'd met him exactly 3 times in the 2 years he'd worked at Benton Tech, the cybersecurity firm Miranda and I had built from nothing in our garage. Well, mostly me. But Miranda had the business degree and the boardroom presence, so she became CEO while I stayed in the background, writing code and catching hackers. "Grant thinks a lot of things," I said, flipping a pancake with more force than necessary. Emily looked up from her calculus homework. "Why don't you like Mr. Wallace, Dad?" "I never said I didn't like him. You get that face whenever Mom mentions him." "What face?" "The same one you make when Sophie leaves her dishes in the sink," Sophie giggled. "Dad's constipated face." "I do not have a constipated face," I protested, but I was smiling. These moments, coffee brewing, pancakes sizzling, my girls laughing, this was what mattered. Miranda finally looked up. "Paul, can you handle pickup today? The meeting might run late." "Sure. Which meeting is this again?" She hesitated for half a second. "Quarterly projections, I told you." But her eyes shifted left when she lied. "Always had since college." It's how I knew she'd eaten the last piece of my birthday cake in 2009, and how I knew she wasn't telling me the truth now. After dropping the girls at school, I drove to our office building downtown. Benton Tech occupied the entire 15th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Houston's skyline. I'd always been proud of what we'd built, but lately, I felt like a stranger in my own company. I badged into the server room and pulled up our security logs. Old habits from military intelligence. When something feels wrong, gather intelligence first. What I found made my chest seize with cold dread. Someone had been accessing our client database after hours, not just browsing, downloading. Massive data transfers, all traced back to Grant's executive access codes. Our clients included oil companies, defense contractors, and government agencies. The kind of information that could sell for millions on the dark web, or be used to destroy competitors. I was still staring at the logs when my phone buzzed. A text from Miranda. "Emergency board meeting. Taking company jet to Dallas. Back tomorrow." The company jet. We'd bought it 6 months ago when a major defense contract came through. Miranda had insisted we needed it for client meetings, but I'd seen the flight logs. Most trips were to Austin, Dallas, sometimes Las Vegas. Never with clients, always with Grant. I walked to the executive floor and found Miranda's assistant, Janet, packing up her desk. "Taking the day off?" I asked. Janet looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Benton, I thought you knew." "Mrs. Benton gave me the rest of the week off. Said the office would be closed for restructuring." Restructuring? We'd never discussed restructuring. I tried to access Miranda's office, but my keycard didn't work. Same with Grant's office. In fact, my access had been restricted to the server room and my own small office in the back corner. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Paul Benton?" "Yes." "This is David Chen from Houston Chronicle Business Section. I'm calling about the sale of Benton Tech. Can you comment on the acquisition?" The world tilted. "I'm sorry, what sale?" "The announcement went out an hour ago. Benton Tech has been acquired by Meridian Holdings for $47 million. As co-founder, surely you—" I hung up. My hands shook as I called Miranda. Straight to voicemail. Grant's number, same thing. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing through possibilities. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the reporter got bad information. Maybe the locks had been changed. I stood on my own front porch, key in hand, staring at brass deadbolts that didn't match my keys. Through the window, I could see our family photos still on the mantel, Sophie's art projects still stuck to the refrigerator. But I couldn't get inside. A black sedan pulled into my driveway. Two men in expensive suits got out, the kind of lawyers who charge $1,000 an hour. Mr. Benton, I'm Richard Hayes from Hayes, Morrison and Associates. We represent your wife in the dissolution of Benton Tech and your marriage. Dissolution, like I was a corporation being liquidated. We have papers for you, the second lawyer said, extending a thick manila envelope. Inside were divorce papers, a restraining order, and a corporate buyout agreement. According to the documents, I had agreed to sell my 51% stake in Benton Tech for $1. My signature was perfect. Too perfect. Forged. There's been a mistake, I said. Sir, your wife has made serious allegations about your mental state and potential threats of violence. For everyone's safety, you need to maintain distance from the family home and the business. Threats of violence? I've never threatened anyone in my life. Sir, please don't raise your voice. We have a recording of you threatening Mr. Wallace last week. I stared at him. What recording? Hayes pulled out his phone and played an audio file. My voice crystal clear. Grant, I swear to God, if you don't back off, I'll make you regret it. I know where you live and I know how to hurt you. Except I'd never said those words. Never even had a private conversation with Grant. But it was my voice, perfectly synthesized, probably using samples from company video conferences, the kind of deepfake technology that was becoming scarily sophisticated, the kind of technology our company specialized in detecting. 24 hours to collect personal items, Hayes said. After that, any contact with Mrs. Benton or Benton Tech property will result in arrest. They drove away, leaving me standing in my driveway like a man who'd been struck by lightning. I called Emily's cell phone. Dad, why are you calling? I'm in chemistry class. Em, I need you to listen carefully. When school ends, I want you and Sophie to meet me at Uncle Danny's shop instead of going home. Why? What's wrong? How do you tell your 14-year-old daughter that her mother has just destroyed your life? I'll explain everything later. Just trust me, okay? Danny Reeves owned a motorcycle repair shop on the south side of town. We'd served together in the Middle East, and he was the closest thing to family I had besides my daughters. I found him elbow deep in a Harley engine, Metallica blasting from speakers older than my marriage. Paul, what brings you to my humble palace of grease and regret? Danny, I need help. He took one look at my face and turned off the music. What happened? I told him everything. The forged documents, the changed locks, the fake audio recording. Danny listened without interruption, his expression growing darker with each detail. Son of a witch, he said when I finished. Your wife's been planning this for months. How do you figure? Corporate acquisition doesn't happen overnight. Neither does forging documents good enough to fool lawyers. She's been setting you up, probably since she hired Pretty Boy Grant. The girls arrived an hour later, confused and scared. Sophie ran straight into my arms, but Emily hung back, studying my face with those sharp eyes. Mom said you had to move out because you were sick, Emily said. She said you might try to turn us against her. What do you think? Emily considered this. I think Mom's been acting weird for months, and I think she's lying. That night, we stayed in a motel near Danny's shop. I ordered pizza and tried to explain divorce to an 11-year-old, while my teenager researched Texas family law on her phone. Dad, Emily said around midnight, I found something. She showed me her laptop screen, a social media post from Grant's private Instagram account, posted 3 hours ago. A photo of champagne glasses clinking together, taken inside a private jet. The caption read, "To new beginnings." In the background, barely visible, was Miranda's reflection in the window. I stared at the photo until the screen blurred. 15 years of marriage, 2 beautiful daughters, a company we'd built together, all of it gone in a single day. But as I watched Sophie sleep peacefully on the motel bed, something cold and calculating settled in my chest. The same feeling I'd had in the Middle East when analyzing enemy communications, looking for weaknesses and pressure points. Miranda thought she'd won. She thought I was just another suburban dad who'd roll over and accept defeat. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, I dropped the girls at school and drove to the one place in Houston where I could think clearly, the public library downtown. Old school research habits die hard, and I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. I started with public records. The sale of Benton Tech to Meridian Holdings had been filed with the SEC 3 days ago, 3 days before I even knew about it. The paperwork was perfect, complete with my forged signature on documents I'd never seen. But Meridian Holdings was interesting. A shell company incorporated in Delaware just 6 weeks ago. Single shareholder, another shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. Someone had been planning this for months, just like Danny said. I pulled up Grant's LinkedIn profile. Harvard Business School, class of 2010. Before Benton Tech, he'd worked at 3 different companies, all of which had been acquired or gone bankrupt within 2 years of his arrival. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a pattern. My phone buzzed. A text from Miranda. Girls need clothes and school supplies. Meet me at Target on Westheimer at 3 p.m. Come alone. I arrived early and watched from the parking lot as Miranda pulled up in her new Tesla. When had she bought a Tesla? Grant's car was parked 3 spaces away, and I could see him sitting inside, probably providing backup in case I caused a scene. Miranda looked stunning, which wasn't an accident. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. Designer jeans that cost more than most people's rent, a cashmere sweater that highlighted her figure, and just enough makeup to look effortlessly beautiful. This was psychological warfare. Paul, she said, approaching with a shopping cart. Thank you for coming. Cut the act, Miranda. We're not being recorded here. I don't know what you mean. The fake audio recording, the forged documents, the shell company acquisition. Should I keep going? For just a moment, her mask slipped. I saw something cold and calculating in her eyes, something I'd never noticed before. Or maybe I'd chosen not to notice. You're being paranoid, she said. The stress of the divorce is affecting your judgment. Is that what you're going to tell the girls, that Daddy's crazy? The girls will be fine. They'll adjust to their new life. What new life? Miranda smiled, and it was like watching a snake coil to strike. Grant and I are moving to Austin. The girls will love it there. Better schools, cleaner air. We've already put a deposit down on a house in Westlake. The color drained from my face. You can't take my daughters to Austin. Actually, I can. The custody agreement gives me primary custody, and Texas law allows relocation as long as it's in the children's best interests. What custody agreement? We're not even divorced yet. Emergency custody order, filed yesterday. Your history of mental instability and threats of violence made it necessary. She pulled a folded document from her purse. Sure enough, a judge had awarded her temporary custody based on the fake audio recording and a psychiatric evaluation I'd never undergone. This is insane, Miranda. You can't just steal my life and expect me to disappear. I'm not stealing anything. I'm protecting my daughters from their unstable father. Their unstable father who built the company you just sold. Their unstable father who's been supporting this family for 15 years. Miranda's voice dropped to a whisper. Their unstable father who is holding me back. Do you have any idea what it's like being married to someone with no ambition, no vision? You were content writing code in the basement while I handled the real work. The real work? I designed every security protocol we ever sold. I wrote the algorithms that made us millions. You just smiled and shook hands with clients. And that's all you'll ever be, Paul. A programmer, a worker bee. Grant understands vision. He understands growth. He understands me. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her until the person I'd married came back. Instead, I kept my voice level. How long have you been planning this? Does it matter? It matters to me. Miranda checked her watch. Grant's expecting me. We have dinner reservations. Answer the question. She sighed like I was a child asking why the sky was blue. 6 months, maybe 7. Grant showed me what we could accomplish without you dragging us down. 7 months. While I was making pancakes and helping with homework, my wife was plotting to destroy my life. The girls won't forgive you for this, I said. The girls will understand when they're older. Children adapt. They'll see that I did what was best for everyone. She started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, and Paul, the restraining order prohibits you from coming within 500 feet of me, the girls, or any Benton Tech property. If you violate it, you'll go to jail. I hope you understand that. I watched her drive away with Grant, probably heading to some expensive restaurant to celebrate their victory. Then I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, hands shaking with rage. But rage wasn't going to help me. I needed to think like a soldier again. Back at the library, I dove deeper into Grant's background. His previous companies hadn't just failed, they'd been systematically stripped of assets before being sold to competitors. Same pattern every time. Grant would join as COO, identify valuable intellectual property, then orchestrate a buyout that left the original founders with nothing. He was a corporate vampire, and Miranda was his latest partner. I found something else interesting in the SEC filings. The $47 million sale price for Benton Tech was actually a fraction of what the company was worth. Our defense contracts alone were valued at over $60 million. Someone was getting a sweetheart deal, and I had a pretty good idea who. My phone rang, Emily's number. Dad, something's wrong. Mom picked us up from school and said we're going to Austin this weekend to look at houses. She won't let us call you. Where are you now? Bathroom at some fancy restaurant, and I told her I was sick. Dad, I don't want to move to Austin. All my friends are here. Listen carefully, Em. I need you to do something for me. 20 minutes later, Emily texted me the address of the restaurant. I drove over and parked across the street, using my phone to zoom in on their table by the window. Miranda and Grant sat close together, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing. They looked like the perfect couple. Successful, attractive, completely in love. My daughter sat across from them, Sophie picking at her food, while Emily stared out the window with teenage contempt. Grant said something that made Miranda laugh, and she leaned over to kiss him. Not a quick peck. A real kiss. The kind that said they'd been doing this for a while. I took pictures, lots of pictures. Then I called my lawyer. Well, the lawyer I was about to hire. Thompson Legal Services, this is Sarah. I need to speak with someone about a divorce case, emergency situation. Hold, please. 2 minutes later, this is Jake Thompson. What's the emergency? I told him everything, sending the photos while we talked. Thompson listened without interruption, occasionally asking for clarification. Mr. Benton, I'm going to be straight with you. Your wife's lawyers are good. They've covered their bases legally, but they made one mistake. What's that? They move too fast. When someone's this eager to destroy you, it usually means they're hiding something worse than what they're accusing you of. So what do? We dig and we fight. But I need to warn you, this is going to get ugly. Your wife clearly has resources and connections. Are you prepared for a war? I thought about Sophie's confused face at dinner, Emily's anger at being manipulated, and Miranda's cold smile when she told me I was just a programmer. Mr. Thompson, I spent 8 years in military intelligence. I know how to fight wars. Good, because we're going to destroy them. Jake Thompson's office was everything Miranda's lawyers wasn't. Cluttered, practical, and honest. No marble floors or leather furniture, just stacks of case files and a coffee maker that looked older than my marriage. First thing we need to do is challenge the custody order, Thompson said, spreading documents across his desk. The judge who signed this, Margaret Henley, she's known for making quick decisions based on incomplete information. Can we get it overturned? Maybe, but we need evidence that your wife lied on the petition. The fake audio recording is a good start, but we need more. I pulled out my laptop and showed him what I'd found about Grant's pattern of corporate destruction. Thompson whistled low. This is good, really good, but it's circumstantial. We need something that directly ties your wife to fraud. What about the forged signatures on the sale documents? Hard to prove unless we can show intent to defraud. And even then, she could claim you gave verbal consent. I was starting to understand why Miranda had moved so quickly. Every legal avenue seemed blocked. There is one thing, Thompson said. Your wife made a mistake by taking the girls to Austin without court approval. The custody order gives her primary custody, but it doesn't authorize relocation. If we can prove she's planning to move them permanently, we can get an emergency hearing. Emily said they're looking at houses this weekend. Perfect. We file a motion Monday morning. But in the meantime, we need to gather more intelligence. That afternoon, I drove to Benton Tech's office building. My key card didn't work anymore, but I knew the building's security systems. I'd helped design them. The loading dock entrance had a 12-second delay between the door closing and the alarm activating. Plenty of time for someone who knew what they were doing. The 15th floor was mostly empty, but I could hear voices from the conference room. I made my way to the server room and plugged in a USB drive I'd prepared. If Grant was stealing client data, I wanted proof. The download took 8 minutes. 8 minutes of my heart pounding while I listened for footsteps in the hallway. When it finished, I had copies of every file accessed in the past month, including email logs and security footage. I was about to leave when I heard Miranda's voice from the conference room. The Austin office will be operational by December 1st. We'll transfer the key contracts and let the rest expire. What about the employees? Grant's voice. Severance packages for essential personnel. Everyone else gets laid off. We'll blame it on the acquisition. A third voice I didn't recognize. And Benton? Paul won't be a problem. The restraining order keeps him away, and the custody arrangement ensures his compliance. He won't risk losing access to his daughters. I pressed my ear to the door. You're sure about that? The unknown voice asked. Men like Benton don't usually give up easily. Miranda laughed. You don't know Paul. He's passive-aggressive at worst. He'll sulk and complain, but he won't fight back. He never has. If you're wrong, I'm not wrong. I've been married to him for 15 years. Paul Benton is not a threat. I smiled in the darkness. Miranda had just made her second mistake, underestimating her enemy. Back at Danny's shop, I analyzed the stolen data. What I found was worse than corporate espionage. Grant had been selling client information to competitors, but he'd also been manipulating our security software to create backdoors in our clients' systems. Our software protected oil refineries, power grids, and military contractors. Grant had essentially given hostile actors the keys to critical American infrastructure. This wasn't just fraud, it was treason. I called Thompson immediately. Holy crap, he said when I explained what I'd found. Paul, this changes everything. We're not just talking about divorce court anymore. This is federal crime territory. What do? We call the FBI. But first, we need to make sure this evidence is admissible. How exactly did you obtain it? I told him about my late-night visit to the office. That's a problem. Technically, you committed breaking and entering. A good defense attorney could get this thrown out. So we can't use it. We can't use it directly, but we can use it to know where to look. I have a contact at the FBI Cyber Crimes Division. If we point them in the right direction, they can get warrants for the same information. How long will that take? Weeks, maybe months. And in the meantime, your wife is moving to Austin with your daughters. I felt the walls closing in again. Even with evidence of federal crimes, the system was too slow to help me. There might be another way, Thompson said, but you're not going to like it. I'm listening. We leak the information to the press, create enough public pressure that the authorities have to act quickly. Won't that compromise the investigation? Probably, but it might be the only way to stop your wife from disappearing with your kids. That night, I sat in my motel room staring at the ceiling. In 12 hours, I'd committed breaking and entering, stolen corporate data, and was about to become a whistleblower. None of this was who I thought I was. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I'd been passive for too long, letting other people make decisions that affected my life. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Mom says we're moving to Austin next month. She enrolled us in new schools. I told her I want to stay with you, but she said that's not an option. Dad, please don't let her take us away. I stared at my daughter's message until the words blurred together. Then I opened my laptop and started typing an email to David Chen at the Houston Chronicle. Miranda was right about one thing. I'd never been a fighter. But she was wrong about something more important. I was about to become one. The Houston Chronicle article ran on the front page of the business section. Local tech CEO accused of selling critical infrastructure data to foreign competitors. David Chen had done his homework. The article detailed Grant's history of corporate destruction, the suspicious timing of Benton Tech's sale, and the national security implications of compromised infrastructure software. He'd even found a cybersecurity expert who confirmed that the backdoors in our system could give hostile actors control over power grids and oil refineries. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Paul, it's Thompson. Have you seen the news? Just read it online. The FBI called me 20 minutes ago. They want to interview you this afternoon. That's good, right? It's complicated. They're treating you as both a witness and a potential suspect. You had access to the same systems as Grant, but I'm the one who exposed it. Doesn't matter. You also broke into your former office and stole corporate data. They have to investigate everyone. An hour later, Miranda called. I almost didn't answer. Paul, what have you done? Her voice was shaking with rage. I exposed the truth. You destroyed my company, our company. Your company was selling out American infrastructure to foreign competitors. I stopped it. Grant never sold anything to foreign competitors? That's a lie. Miranda, I have the transaction logs. I know exactly who he sold to and how much he got paid. Silence on the other end. The girls are scared, she said finally. There are reporters at their school. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to commit treason. This isn't over, Paul. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. She hung up. The FBI interview took place in a sterile conference room downtown. Special Agent Rebecca Martinez was younger than I expected, with sharp eyes that reminded me of Emily. Mr. Benton, let's start with how you discovered the alleged security breaches. I told her everything, leaving out only the details of how I'd accessed the office building. Thompson had coached me on this. Stick to what I could prove legally. And you believe your wife was aware of Mr. Wallace's activities? I know she was. I have recordings of her discussing the Austin office transition and employee layoffs. She was planning to shut down Houston operations and move the valuable contracts to Austin. That's not necessarily illegal. It is when you're doing it to cover up the sale of classified information. Martinez made notes on a yellow pad, and Mr. Benton, I have to ask, are you sure your personal feelings about the divorce aren't affecting your judgment here? Agent Martinez, my wife could run off with the circus for all I care, but she can't sell American infrastructure data to hostile actors. That's not personal. That's national security. The interview lasted 3 hours. When it was over, Martinez walked me to the elevator. Off the record, she said. We've been watching Grant Wallace for 6 months. Your information confirms what we already suspected. Then why haven't you arrested him? Because we want the buyers, not just the seller. Wallace is small time compared to who he's working for. How long do you need? Weeks, maybe longer. Agent Martinez, my wife is planning to take my daughters to Austin next month. I need this resolved before then. Mr. Benton, I understand your situation, but I can't speed up a federal investigation because of a custody dispute. The elevator doors opened. As I stepped inside, Martinez handed me her card. Call me if you think of anything else. And Mr. Benton, be careful. People who steal infrastructure data don't usually stop at forgery and fraud. That afternoon, I picked up the girls from school. Emily climbed into the truck with a grim expression, while Sophie looked like she'd been crying. The other kids are saying Mom's a traitor, Sophie said. Is that true? How do you explain treason to an 11-year-old? Your mom made some bad decisions, I said. But she's not a traitor. She just trusted the wrong person. Grant? Yeah, Grant. Emily snorted. I never liked him. He talks to kids like we're stupid. We drove to Danny's shop, where I'd been staying since the motel got too expensive. Danny had cleared out a corner of his office and set up cots for the girls on weekends. This is temporary, I told them for the 100th time. As soon as the lawyers sort everything out, we'll get a real place. What if Mom takes us to Austin? Sophie asked. She won't. How do you know? Because I'm going to stop her, I thought. But what I said was, because families belong together. That evening, after the girls fell asleep, I sat outside Danny's shop drinking beer and planning my next move. The FBI investigation would take weeks, but Miranda could disappear with my daughters anytime. I needed leverage, and I needed it fast. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Meet me at Starbucks on Richmond at 9 p. Come alone. G. Grant wanted to meet. This could be a trap, but it might also be my chance to get the evidence I needed. I arrived early and chose a table with a clear view of the entrance. Grant showed up exactly at 9, looking nervous and checking over his shoulder. Paul, thank you for coming. What do you want, Grant? He sat down across from me, his usual arrogance replaced by something that looked like fear. I want to make a deal. What kind of deal? I'll testify against the buyers, give the FBI everything they need, but I need immunity from prosecution. Why are you telling me this? I'm not a federal prosecutor. Because you started this. The FBI was sniffing around, but your newspaper article forced their hand. Now they want to arrest me before I can cut a deal. I studied his face. Grant was scared, really scared, which meant he was in deeper than even I had realized. What about Miranda? What about her? Is she going to prison too? Grant looked genuinely confused. Miranda, why would she go to prison? She's your partner. She helped you steal the data. Paul, Miranda doesn't know anything about the data sales. She thinks I was just helping her get rid of you and take control of the company. The world tilted sideways. What? I needed access to Benton Tech's systems, and Miranda wanted you gone. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. She got her divorce and the company. I got access to your client's infrastructure. But she knew you were selling data. She knew I was making money on the side. She didn't know how or to whom. Miranda's not a traitor, Paul. She's just selfish. I stared at him, trying to process this information. My wife hadn't committed treason. She'd just been manipulated by someone who had. Why are you telling me this? Because I need your help. The FBI will listen to you. You're the whistleblower, the patriotic ex-soldier who exposed the conspiracy. If you recommend immunity for me, they might go for it. And in exchange, I'll give you back your life. The forged documents, the fake audio recordings, the custody manipulation, I'll admit to all of it. Miranda will lose everything, and you'll get your daughters back. I felt a surge of satisfaction, followed immediately by something that might have been pity. Grant was offering to destroy the woman he claimed to love in exchange for his freedom. You really are a piece of crap, aren't you? Grant's mask slipped, revealing the cold calculation underneath. I'm a survivor, Paul, and right now, survival means cutting loose the dead weight. Like you did with Miranda? Like I'm doing with Miranda. I stood up. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. The FBI is moving fast, and Miranda's planning to leave for Austin this weekend. I walked away without looking back, my mind racing with possibilities. Grant had just handed me the key to destroying Miranda's case, but using it would mean making a deal with a traitor. The question was, how far was I willing to go to get my daughters back? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in Danny's office, staring at Grant's business card and weighing my options. Option 1. Make the deal with Grant. He testifies against the foreign buyers, admits to manipulating Miranda, and I get my life back. The downside? A traitor walks free with immunity. Option 2. Let the FBI handle everything through normal channels. Grant goes to prison, but it takes months, and Miranda disappears to Austin with my daughters. Option 3. Find another way. At dawn, I called Agent Martinez. Mr. Benton, it's early. Grant Wallace wants to make a deal. He's willing to testify against the buyers in exchange for immunity. When did he contact you? Last night. He thinks I have influence with your investigation. Do you want to have influence? I want my daughters back, Agent Martinez. But I don't want a traitor walking free to get them. What if I told you we don't need Wallace's testimony to get the buyers? My heart jumped. What do you mean? I mean, we've been running a joint operation with NSA Cyber Division for 8 months. We know who the buyers are, where they are, and what they've purchased. Wallace is useful, but he's not essential. Then why haven't you arrested him? Because we're rolling up the entire network next week. Buyers, sellers, and intermediaries across 3 countries. Wallace's arrest is part of a coordinated operation. What about Miranda? Your wife will be questioned, but unless we find evidence she knew about the data sales, she won't be charged with espionage. She'll still face fraud charges for the forged documents. That's a local matter. But yes, probably. I felt a weight lift from my chest. Miranda wasn't a traitor, just a woman who'd made terrible choices. That mattered more than I wanted to admit. Agent Martinez, there's something else. Wallace told me he has recordings of conversations with Miranda, evidence that she knew about the forged documents and fake audio files. Where are these recordings? I don't know, but if you arrest him before he destroys them, we'll get a warrant for his electronics. Mr. Benton, you've been very helpful, but I need you to stay away from Wallace until we make our arrests. If he feels cornered, he might run. When will that be? Soon. After hanging up, I called Thompson with an update. This is good news, he said. If the FBI has evidence of document forgery, we can get the custody order overturned immediately. How immediately? Emergency hearing? Maybe tomorrow if Judge Henley has an opening. Do it. That afternoon, I was working on Danny's computer when Emily called. Dad, something weird is happening. Mom's packing suitcases and she keeps making phone calls in Spanish. Spanish? Your mom doesn't speak Spanish. That's what I thought. But she's definitely speaking Spanish to someone. And Dad? Grant's here and he looks really scared. My blood ran cold. I need you to listen carefully. Pack a small bag with clothes for you and Sophie. Hide it in your closet. If anything weird happens, I mean anything, you call me immediately. Dad, you're scaring me. I'm sorry, baby. Just trust me, okay? An hour later, Thompson called back. Paul, we have a problem. Miranda's lawyers filed an emergency motion to allow immediate relocation to Austin. They're claiming you're harassing their client, and the children are in danger. That's B. I know it's B, but they have a hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning. And if Judge Henley grants it, Miranda can leave with the girls immediately. Can we stop it? Not unless we have evidence of fraud by tomorrow morning. I hung up and called Agent Martinez. Straight to voicemail. Danny found me pacing around his shop like a caged animal. Paul, you need to calm down. I can't calm down. Miranda's about to disappear with my daughters and the FBI won't return my calls. So what are you going to do about it? I stopped pacing. What do you mean? I mean, you can stand here feeling sorry for yourself, or you can do something about it. Like what? Danny walked over to his tool chest and pulled out a small electronic device I didn't recognize. Like this, GPS tracker, magnetic mount, battery life of 6 months. Danny, I can't what? Track your own daughters? Make sure they're safe? I stared at the device. Crossing this line would make me a stalker in the eyes of the law. But it might be the only way to find my daughters if Miranda ran. How would I even get close enough to their car? Danny smiled. Leave that to me. That evening, Danny called Miranda's house, claiming to be from a towing company. He told her that her Tesla had been reported as blocking a fire hydrant and needed to be moved immediately. While Miranda went outside to check, Danny slipped the tracker under her rear bumper. She bought it? I asked when he got back. Hook, line, and sinker. Rich people always believe they're being persecuted. At midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. Dad, Mom says we're leaving for Austin in the morning. She won't let us call you to say goodbye. I stared at the message, feeling helpless rage build in my chest. Then I opened the GPS tracking app on my phone and watched the red dot that represented my daughters. They were still at the house, for now. At 3 a.m., the red dot started moving. I called Emily immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. Same with Sophie's phone. The red dot was heading toward Interstate 45 North, the route to Austin. I threw on clothes and ran to my truck. Danny was already waiting by his motorcycle, fully dressed. Where do you think you're going? I asked. With you, you'll need backup. Danny, this isn't the Middle East. I can't ask you to... You didn't ask. I volunteered. We followed the red dot for 2 hours, staying far enough back to avoid detection. Just outside Huntsville, the dot stopped at a gas station. I parked across the street and watched through binoculars as Miranda filled up her Tesla. Grant was in the passenger seat, constantly checking his phone. The girls were in the back, Sophie asleep against the window, and Emily staring out at the dark highway. My phone rang. Agent Martinez, Mr. Benton, where are you? Following my daughters. We just arrested Grant Wallace at his apartment, except he wasn't there. He's with my wife. They're running. That changes things. If Wallace is fleeing, he might be dangerous. Where are you exactly? I gave her our location. Stay back and keep following them. We're coordinating with Texas State Police to set up a roadblock. How long will that take? An hour, maybe 2. I watched Miranda get back in her car and pull onto the highway. The red dot started moving again, but slower now. Agent Martinez, they're not just running to Austin, they're running, period. What makes you say that? Because Austin is south of here and they're heading north. The red dot was moving toward Dallas, then beyond, toward the Oklahoma border, and points unknown. Miranda wasn't just taking my daughters to a new city. She was taking them out of the country. And I was the only thing standing in her way. The red dot stopped at a truck stop outside Dallas at sunrise. I parked behind a semi and watched Miranda's Tesla through binoculars while Danny scouted the area on foot. Grant kept checking his phone and looking over his shoulder. Whatever the FBI had told him about the coordinated arrests, he knew his time was running out. 2 exits from the parking lot, Danny reported back. But there's construction on the east side. If they run, they'll have to go west toward the interstate. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. Dad, I think we're in trouble. Grant has a tool. My blood turned to ice. Danny, we need to call this in. Already did. State police are 10 minutes out. I watched Grant get out of the Tesla and walk toward the truck stop convenience store. This might be my only chance to talk to Miranda alone. Stay here, I told Danny. If anything goes wrong, call emergency. I crossed the parking lot and tapped on the Tesla's window. Miranda jumped, then rolled it down an inch. Paul, how did you... Never mind. You need to leave, now. Miranda, whatever Grant told you, it's not true. The FBI is closing in. You need to let me take the girls home. I can't do that. Why not? Because Grant says you'll have us all arrested. He says you made some kind of deal with the FBI to frame us. I could see the fear in her eyes. Grant had been manipulating her from the beginning, and now he was using her terror to keep her compliant. Miranda, Grant is a traitor. He's been selling infrastructure data to foreign governments. The FBI has been tracking him for months. That's not true. It is true. And when they arrest him, he's going to try to blame you for everything. Emily leaned forward from the back seat. Mom, Dad's right. Grant's been acting weird all morning. He keeps talking about Mexico and new identities. Shut up, Emily, Miranda snapped. Your father is lying. But I could see doubt creeping into her expression. The woman I'd married was still in there somewhere, buried under layers of manipulation and fear. Miranda, look at me. Really look at me. Do you honestly believe I'm capable of framing you for treason? For a moment, her mask slipped completely. I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with in college, the one who used to laugh at my bad jokes and steal my hoodies. I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. That's when Grant came back from the convenience store and saw me talking to his car. His face went white, then red with rage. Get away from them, he shouted, reaching into his jacket. I saw the tool and threw myself sideways as Grant fired. The bullet shattered the Tesla's rear window, sending glass cascading over my daughters. Sophie screamed. Emily threw herself over her sister, protecting her from the glass. Grant, stop, Miranda yelled. There are children in the car. But Grant was past listening. He fired again, this time at me as I rolled behind a parked truck. The bullet sparked off concrete inches from my head. I heard sirens in the distance. The state police were almost here. Grant, I shouted. It's over. The FBI already has everything they need. Shut up! He fired blindly in my direction. You ruined everything! I heard Danny's motorcycle roar to life. He came around the corner at full speed, heading straight for Grant. At the last second, he laid the bike down and slid across the asphalt, taking Grant's legs out from under him. The tool went flying. I sprinted toward it, but Grant was closer. He grabbed the tool and pointed it at Miranda's car. Nobody moves, or I shoot the kids! Everything went quiet except for Sophie sobbing. Grant, Miranda said carefully, please don't hurt my daughters. Our daughters, he corrected. We were going to be a family, remember? You, me, and the girls in Mexico. New names, new life. You never told me about Mexico. There's a lot I never told you, Miranda. Like how much money I made selling your husband's security codes. Like how easy it was to forge his signature. Like how stupid you were to trust me. I saw Emily's face in the car window, no longer scared but angry. She was her father's daughter, and she was calculating angles just like I'd taught her. Grant, I said, trying to draw his attention away from the car, the FBI knows everything. Ending us won't change that. Maybe not, but it'll make me feel better. He raised the tool toward me, and Emily made her move. She threw open the car door, slamming it into Grant's back. He stumbled forward, the tool discharging harmlessly into the air. I tackled him before he could recover, driving my shoulder into his chest and sending us both crashing to the ground. We rolled across the asphalt, fighting for control of the tool. Grant was younger and desperate, but I was trained and motivated. When he tried to knee me in the stomach, I twisted sideways and drove my elbow into his solar plexus. He gasped and loosened his grip on the tool. I ripped it away from him and scrambled to my feet, pointing the tool at his chest. Don't move. Grant lay on the ground, wheezing and scraped up from road rash. The sirens were getting louder. Paul, Miranda called from the car. Are the girls okay? I looked through the shattered window at my daughters. Sophie was crying, but unhurt. Emily had a small cut on her cheek from the glass, but was trying to comfort her sister. They're okay, I said. Thank God. Miranda got out of the car slowly, her hands visible. Paul, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about everything. I know. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. I know that too. The state police arrived in a convoy of flashing lights and screeching tires. Officers surrounded us with tools drawn, shouting commands. Tool on the ground. Now! I carefully placed Grant's tool on the asphalt and raised my hands. I'm Paul Benton. I called this in. Agent Martinez arrived 20 minutes later, just as the paramedics finished checking the girls for injuries. She surveyed the scene. Grant in handcuffs, Miranda giving a statement to state police, Danny getting his road rash bandaged, and me holding both my daughters while they cried. Mr. Benton, are you all right? We're fine. Is it over? It's over. We arrested 12 people across 3 countries this morning. The network is finished. What happens to Miranda? Martinez looked at my wife, who was answering questions with tears streaming down her face. She'll be charged with conspiracy and fraud. But given that she was manipulated and cooperated with our investigation, she'll probably get probation and community service and custody. That's not my department. But judges tend to look favorably on parents who protect their children from armed criminals. I hugged Emily and Sophie tighter. Did you hear that? We're going home. All of us? Sophie asked. I looked at Miranda, who was watching us with an expression I couldn't read. That's up to your mom. 3 hours later, we were driving back to Houston in a convoy. Me and the girls in my truck, Miranda following in a state police car, and Danny bringing up the rear on a borrowed motorcycle. Emily was quiet for most of the trip, but as we reached the Houston city limits, she finally spoke. Dad, are you and Mom going to get back together? I don't know, Em. A lot has happened. But you still love her. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I said. I still love her. Well, even after everything she did, I thought about that for a long time. Love isn't something you turn on and off like a light switch. But love isn't enough by itself. There has to be trust and respect and honesty. Can those things be fixed? Sometimes, if both people wanted to fix them. Sophie, who had been pretending to sleep, opened her eyes. I want us to be a family again. Me too, Emily said quietly. I looked in the rearview mirror at Miranda's car, following behind us. We'll see, girls. We'll see, an epilogue 6 months later. The courtroom was packed for Grant Wallace's sentencing. He'd pled guilty to espionage, fraud, and conspiracy in exchange for a reduced sentence of 25 years in federal prison. I sat in the gallery with Miranda and the girls, watching as the judge read the sentence. Grant showed no emotion, but I could see his hands shaking as the bailiff led him away. Justice, Emily whispered. Justice, I agreed. Outside the courthouse, Agent Martinez found us on the steps. Mr. Benton, I wanted to thank you again. Your cooperation was essential to breaking up the network. Just doing my civic duty. There's something else. The Department of Homeland Security is starting a new cybersecurity initiative. They're looking for consultants with your background and experience. I looked at Miranda, who nodded encouragingly. I'll think about it. Don't think too long. The country needs people like you. That evening, we had dinner at our old house. The first time we'd all been together as a family since the truck stop incident. Miranda had moved back in 3 months ago, after completing court-ordered counseling and community service. So, Miranda said as we cleared the dishes, Agent Martinez offered you a job with Homeland Security. She offered me a consulting contract. It's different. It's also important work. It would mean traveling, maybe being away for weeks at a time. Miranda took my hand. Paul, for 15 years, I took your sacrifices for granted. I won't make that mistake again. We'd been having conversations like this for months, slowly rebuilding trust and figuring out who we were as a couple. It wasn't easy. Some days we barely spoke. Other days, it felt like we were falling in love again. What do you think I should do? I think you should serve your country, and I think the girls and I should support you while you do it. Later that night, after the girls went to bed, Miranda and I sat on our back porch drinking wine and watching the stars. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Regret what? Fighting for us. It would have been easier to just let me go. I thought about that. Yeah, it would have been easier, but easy isn't always right. I could have taken the girls to Mexico. You might never have seen them again. But you didn't. Only because Emily slammed that car door into Grant's back. She gets that from her mother. Miranda laughed. The first genuine laugh I'd heard from her in over a year. Paul, I need you to know something. What I did, the affair, the forged documents, trying to steal the company, none of that was about you not being good enough. It was about me being selfish and stupid. I know. Do you forgive me? I looked at the woman I'd married, the mother of my children, the person who'd betrayed me and then helped me fight our way back to each other. I'm working on it. That's all I can ask for. The next morning, I called Agent Martinez and accepted the Homeland Security contract. That afternoon, I called Jake Thompson and told him to withdraw the divorce papers. And that evening, I sat down with Emily and Sophie to explain that sometimes families have to fight to stay together, but when they do, they come back stronger than before. Does this mean you and Mom are okay now? Sophie asked. We're getting there. Good, Emily said. Because I was getting tired of living in Danny's shop. We all laughed at that. And for the first time in months, it felt like everything was going to be all right. Grant Wallace was wrong about one thing. I wasn't just a programmer or a worker bee. I was a husband, a father, and a man who'd learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to figure out what really matters. And what really mattered was sitting right there at my kitchen table, arguing about homework and planning our next family vacation. Miranda reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For not giving up on us." I squeezed back. "Never." Outside, Houston stretched out under the evening sky, full of possibilities and second chances. Inside, my family was whole again, scarred but stronger. It had been a long road back from that morning when Miranda left me stranded on the tarmac. But we'd made it, all of us, together.